Well, I was exposed to the UFO problem in 1974. I was a sergeant in the Air Force. I was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. At that time, that was S.A.C headquarters. I was assigned to the Strategic Air Command. I was at the headquarter base for S.A.C at Offutt, and I worked in the communications for Strategic Air Command. Worked about 8 floors underground at the headquarters base. I had a top secret crypto clearance with an R prefix. And I know people, they say, okay, well, I had a top secret, I had a top secret, I had a secret clearance. Well, be that as it may, I had one of the highest, if not the highest clearance ratings that you could possibly get. Top secret crypto, and then there was a dash, and there was an R prefix next to my name and my serial number to indicate that I was also top secret cleared plus restricted information. The fact of the matter is that if you're found guilty, the government, the military can march you out, line you up against the wall, and shoot you, and it's adios amigos.
30 years was enough for them?
Yeah. I
mean, did they stipulate that, hey, you can talk all you want to after 30 years?
Oh yeah, it was a pretty cut and dry document that after 30 years, you can say what you want. I think a lot, and this is supposition on my part, but I think the government looks at it, okay, he's a 22-year-old male now. Average lifespan back in 1974 for males was about 60, 65 years old. I mean, I think this is how they looked at it, and they go, 30 years, this old boy will be dead. About 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 unidentified objects came in over the Pacific Northwest. NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain, picked them up. It was at the height of the Cold War. Pretty much what's going on today was going on then. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, their initial reaction, I say 30 seconds, it may have only been 10, 15 seconds. The time, I don't know. The fact of the matter is they felt it was a preemptive strike by a Russian submarine, and these were I.C.B.M. Polaris missiles launched from a submarine. And they came in out of the Pacific Ocean over the Pacific Northwest. NORAD picks them up. We went to full alert status. Launch codes were given out. So they were reading the codes and they were punching them in. In other words, the missile hatches were being opened and the targeting information was being fed into the I.C.B.M. for, it was called the pre-launch status for launch. Looking Glass had issued the fail-safe coordinates for the bombers that were in the air. A lot of people don't realize this, but at that time, during the Cold War, B-52 bombers armed with nuclear missiles and bombs were in the air 24/7. About 30 seconds into this scenario, these objects that were coming in, and I want to say they were registered at about 180,000 feet, and they were being tracked at about anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 miles an hour. And that's about the speed of an I.C.B.M., by the way. But during this scenario, these 5 objects made several course corrections. Now, this predates cruise missile technology. They tracked these objects, and these objects went out over South Dakota, North Dakota, into Canada, out over the Bering Sea, and into Russia, Siberia. And Nixon called, I believe the premier of Russia at that time was Leonid Brezhnev, and said they are not ours. And the reason why he did that, because the Russians were monitoring our nuclear force. They knew that we had blown the hatches off the I.C.B.M.s, that the bombers went to their fail-safe, that the submarines had been given their sailing orders, and hey, what's going on? And all of a sudden, they pick up these 5 objects coming in out over Canada. Nixon didn't want them to think, or didn't want the Russians to think, hey, we're doing a preemptive strike on you guys, because of the tensions that are Cold War status in the Israeli situation. When it was all over with, I believe they were OSI personnel. I don't know that for a fact. They were in uniform. One was a major. The other one, I want to say, was a captain. But they came into the communication, and they had clearance to come in there because they were being escorted by my squadron commander. Well, they collected all that. They collected the hard copies on the printer that were printed out, and they collected all of the carbon copy that related to this specific incident. Then I was taken into the command room, which was up on ground level, and I was debriefed for about 3 hours. I was due to get off at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't walk out of that room until about 10:30. They would ask me, "What'd you read?" Well, I had clearance to read these messages, and I said, "Well, I read about 5 unidentified objects, and we went to alert status and launch codes." No, that's not what you read." "Yeah, it is." No, that's not what you read. And they would start this process over again, and it was a deprogramming process. And they wanted to make sure, I think the gist of the whole deprogramming or the 3 hours was to make sure that I'd keep my mouth shut.